Disclaimer. Before I start, please make sure that you understand that this tier list is purely my opinion and based on my experience of using these survivors. And I have stated my arguments and facts as well as the problems that these survivors have from my experience. So before you attack my comments, make sure you actually understand what I say in the video. But yeah, you can criticize my tier list. It's not perfect, but I tried making it as fair as possible. And yeah, enjoy the video.
Now, I'm somebody who has actually some experience in Forsaken and has a functioning brain. So today I'm gonna rank survivors in Forsaken because I have nothing else to do. Now, before I start, I should clear up a few things. I'm gonna categorize these survivors in Survivalists, Sentinels, and Support. I mean, duh, I can't compare Elliot with Cass. They both have completely different tasks and abilities. Okay, let's start with the Survivalists. Survivalists are the characters that have abilities that only benefit themselves. The noob. A classic. Everybody has played this character and it's the one you start with when you first join the game. His stats are pretty average, nothing interesting to look at. Taking a look at his abilities, he has 3 different abilities. Bloxy Cola, a cola that gives you speed 1 for 10 seconds. Slate Skin Potion that gives you a shit ton of temporary HP for a few seconds, which is good for tanking damage. And a Ghost Burger, which gives you undetectable and invisible effects. Now in-game his abilities are pretty solid. The Bloxy Cola gives you speed to make an escape, and the Slate Skin Potion can be used if you want to buy some time or regenerate stamina before running again. And the Ghost Burger is great for last man standing, as you can use it right before a survivor dies, making you invisible to the killer and leaving the killer confused. Now that's good and all, but I have a few problems. The cola doesn't give you that much speed. The cola you find laying around the map gives you the double amount of speed, but nevertheless, I think it's a solid ability. The Slate Skin Potion only works sometimes. If the killer is smart enough, which some are, he would use Gashing Wound or Mass Infection up close right before the effect is about to end, which only leads to your death. And the Ghost Burger? I think it's great, can be pretty useful if used correctly. So with that, I think the noob will have to go to C tier. He's pretty average. Next is 007 and 7. Just like noob, nothing going on with the stats, but he has 3 interesting abilities. First is Clone, which makes a clone appear and make you invisible and undetectable just like the Ghost Burger. Then the Cool GY, which teleports you to the furthest spawn away, but it's pretty risky because it's slow. And then the third ability changes how your clone walks, either pathfinding, aimless, or cursor. Okay, those abilities are not really hard to understand, but what you need to understand is that 007 is mainly a survivor focused for last man standing. The cloning ability makes you invisible, which is pretty useful in last man standing, as well as Cool GUI, which breaks the loop by a lot if you manage to teleport. His cloning ability has a few techs that are very useful to know. First, you can sacrifice the clone by timing it correctly. What I mean is cloning when you are at very low HP, when you're literally one shot, and cloning as soon as the killer is within your range. Oh my god. Okay. If you time it correctly and in the right position, this will trigger the killing animation, which will buy you a lot of time. And secondly, you can sacrifice the clone by making him go into one of John Doe's traps. I don't really have any problems with this survivor, but at some point the cloning does get pretty obvious and predictable in the duration of the round, so it only gets less effective. If the killer has a brain, of course. And his Cool GUI can be pretty easily countered with ranged attacks because when he takes damage, the Cool GUI gets immediately cancelled. Please.
Oh my god. Now from my experience, I would have to give him just barely an A tier. I would actually give him a B tier, but if you use his maximum potential, then you get an A tier. Okay, so next, oh no. 2-time. Well, you see, there's something really special about these creatures called 2-time players. I can't really describe it, but something feels really wrong about 2-time. He has no abilities, and he's just walking around existing. He's gonna get the 2-time tier. Now moving on to Sentinels, and we're gonna start with Shedletsky because why not? Shedletsky is a Sentinel which has 2 abilities, his Sword Slash and his lovely fried chicken. With his sword he can stun killers, and with the chicken he can heal himself. Pretty self-explanatory. What makes Shedletsky special is that he can stun the killer anytime he desires, which is very useful for yourself but also when you want to help others. And his chicken jockey is meh. It's okay.
It heals him 35 HP over the span of 10 seconds, which is okay, I guess. I think he's pretty solid. He can stun killers, he can heal himself, but that's about it. Shidletsky nevertheless is very good, but holy shit, is it possible to be more predictable when using your slash ability? Like genuinely, please don't go up to the killer, it's so obvious you want to use your sword. But Shidletsky is pretty solid, simple yet effective and also very beginner friendly. I'd say he's B tier. If the chicken wouldn't have got nerfed, he would be an A tier actually, but the chicken barely heals him anymore. And if you miss your slash, then you're gonna get your ass whooped. Plus, sometimes you don't actually have time to utilize your chicken to heal yourself because the killer is constantly chasing you. So that's why I would put him at a B tier, but a good B tier. Chance is up next, and he has by far the most complicated abilities in the game. So let me explain. He has 4 abilities: coin flipping, his flintlock that can stun killers. Yeah, that can happen sometimes. Reroll, which rerolls your total HP amount, and hat fix, which resets the weakness effect back to 0. When flipping the coin, it has a 50-50% chance of either giving you weakness effect or giving you 1 charge. Now, to use your other 3 abilities, you need charges, and it can vary between the intensity of 1 to 3. For the flintlock, if you have 1 charge when using it, there's a high chance that it will malfunction or not work. When you have 3 charges, the percentage of that happening decreases to 25%, so the more charges the better. For the reroll, if you have higher charges, that means the intensity will also be higher. And if you have 3 charges and want to reset the weakness back to 0 because you're literally one shot, then use the hat fix. Now in-game Chance is pretty solid. He can stun killers from a safe distance and he has the longest stun in game. The closer you use the flintlock to the killer, the longer the stun will be. There is one huge massive flaw with this survivor. He's really inconsistent. Even if you're having a really good round and you're dominating, all it takes is just one gun malfunction and you're cooked, you're pretty much dead. You can't do anything about it because it's purely luck based. Plus his gun has somewhat of a long windup, so up close you can't really do anything if the killer is chasing you. I still think he's pretty good, but he's gonna have to get a B tier because he's so inconsistent sometimes. Okay, now the last Sentinel, and that is Guest. He has 3 different abilities. Block, which makes you temporarily invincible towards any attack. Second ability is Charge, where you charge, obviously, making you pretty quick for a few seconds, but if you don't charge into a killer, you will get slowness. And the third ability, which can only be used after blocking an attack successfully, and you can use the punch to stun the killer. Now you can use the punch immediately after parrying the attack, which is going to stun the killer for a longer time, then using it later, so you can store your punch. But the punch later has somewhat of a wind up, so keep that in mind. Now, right off the bat, let me say, Guest is an S tier. Let me explain before you attack my comments. First of all, he's a great tank. He has 15 extra HP, which might not seem like much, but it has a huge impact, which gives him the ability to tank one more hit before dying. Secondly, he has insane potential if played correctly. And his abilities have some special techs that are also very useful to know. For example, send the killer flying on a slope, which can buy you a lot of time. Secondly, if you use his charge right before the killer is about to hit you, you literally ignore the attack and you don't take damage. Also, what people don't understand is that Block is a 2-in-1 ability. Not only does it make you temporarily invincible towards an attack, but it also gives you the ability to punch if you parried an attack. Not only that, but the cooldown for Block is insanely low, which is only 24 seconds. So not only do you have extra HP, you have literally 2 abilities that make you ignore any incoming attack if used correctly. On top of that, a punch ability that can stun the killer. I think Guess is a great Sentinel character if used correctly. But then you might say, well, you said if Shidletsky misses his sword slash, he's pretty much done for. And yeah, if you miss your block with Guess, you're also gonna get punished, but you still have your charge then. And when you juke the killer for a bit and use your charge, you can use your block again and continue the cycle. Sometimes the killer can stop completely attacking you until you block because they're simply fed up with the blocks, but nevertheless, you will buy a shit ton of time for your team, if not win, and combined with Iliad, you're pretty much unstoppable.
Okay, now the support characters, probably the most important ones out there because I genuinely don't understand how a team can win without proper support. Let's start with Tav, the new support character. I've already covered him in one of my other videos and I came to the conclusion that he is a C tier. If you don't know, Tav can throw subspace trip mines that explode when a killer is near, making him temporarily lose his coordination. Plus, he can place tripwires, 3 in total, that slow down the killer. What I've found out is that his traps are not really that good, they can be easily countered, plus he has 10 HP less for some reason, making him pretty weak. But you know, I kinda felt bad, plus he has some potential, so I will give him a B. No! I did make some of you guys mad in the comments, even though I stated facts and arguments in my video, but no, Taft isn't that good, plus barely anybody uses him anymore, and wanna know why? Because he's so damn useless compared to other support characters. He's a C tier. Next is Iliad, and he's just a little pizza delivery guy. He has 2 abilities, throw pizza, which heals survivors by 35 hit points, and rush hour, which gives him speed 3 for 3 seconds. He also has a few passives. For example, for every generator puzzle he fixes, the next pizza is gonna heal by 5% more and it stacks up to 25%. But he also has a passive which gives him fucking X-ray. I can't believe it. He can see survivors at any range that get damaged by the killer, which is insanely helpful. His cooldown for pizza is pretty moderate, pretty average at 45 seconds, but he only has 80 HP. The rush hour ability is so broken, people actually don't understand. Yes, you can only use one at a time, but it makes you so fast you can break ankles of any killer. Plus you start the round with 1 rush hour. He is by far one of the best support characters in my opinion. He's definitely an A tier, but I would consider putting him in S tier, but he has only 80 HP, which makes him pretty weak, but he's so mobile and fast that it doesn't even matter anymore. So yeah, I definitely think Elliot deserves the S tier, so I'm gonna put him at S tier. Next, let's go with Dusukar. He has 2 abilities, which is Shield, giving another player shield and reducing the damage the survivor receives by a lot, 80% to be exact. Second is Plasma Beam, where he fires a beam that can either slow down the killer or give a speed boost to a survivor. Now from my experience, I have a few problems to name. First of all, he is not really good on small maps like Horror Hotel or generally speaking maps where there's a lot of walls, because to actually shield someone, that person needs to be in line of sight. Second of all, the plasma beam has a really long wind up, so you can't do anything up close. In fact, you can't do anything if you're getting chased, but if you keep your distance, you should be able to loop the killer with the plasma beams. After giving shield to a teammate, you're also pretty slow, so it's important to keep your distance as Dusukar. I think I'm gonna put Dusukar at A tier, because yes, he's pretty weak in close range, but that's not how he's supposed to be played as. You need to keep your distance from the killer and stay hidden, if you can. Plus his cooldowns are super short and the killers are very annoyed since Dusukar can just spam his plasma beam a lot. Okay, the last support, Builderman. He has 2 abilities, play sentry that shoots the killer and makes him slow, and a dispenser which can heal you and your teammates. Plus he has 90 HP. Now, generally speaking, he is pretty solid in game. Actually, I might say very good. Up close with no traps, you can barely do anything just like Taff. But unless you run around like an idiot and then walk into the killer, you should have time to place his sentry and the dispenser. His sentry is very impactful to the game because it has good range, it slows down the killer, either by shooting the killer and slowing him down, or when the killer needs to take down the sentry, which is also going to buy some time. His dispenser is also pretty good. It may heal pretty slow, but it heals, and that's what's important, and it can heal multiple people at once. 2 problems. He's pretty slow and weak when placing sentry or the dispenser, but if you actually pay attention where the killer is, that shouldn't really be a problem. Now without his sentry, he does have to rely on his teammates and his juking skills. Okay, so now which tier is Builderman? I'd say S tier. I mean, come on, he's basically a combination both of Iliad, which can heal people, not only that but multiple people at once, but his sentry is way better than Taft's traps. So yeah, I do think Builderman deserves the S tier. I also changed a few things, a couple things, like I put Shaleski in A tier. He's not that special, but he's pretty mid. I'd say A tier maybe. But yeah, this is the final tier list. If I would have to give 2-time a rank, it would be maybe a C tier, but by far the worst one. But he's getting a rework soon anyway, so I don't think that really matters. And I don't really like two-time players. I mean, he has no abilities and really does nothing than other just walk around the map, so yeah. Let me know what you think in the comments. I think this is a fair tier list. You can make, of course, your own at tiermaker.com. But yeah, that covers about all that I had to say about the tier list. I tried to make it as fair as possible, and yeah, thanks for watching. I appreciate the support, guys.